Now back again for another video. And on this video, we'll be talking about your sons. Now, it's commonly believed that men don't have a place in this society anymore. And women, they won't necessarily tell you this outright, but according to how they see your value, it's been diminished down to sex and potential protection. That's it. Selective protection at best, meaning they want you to be their attack dog. But how did we become to be what we are today? A long time ago, we ended up here, of course. And from that since time until now, things have been what they have been. But there is a point in time where this was not so, that we had the value that we should have. We had the respect that we should have as well. Many people talk about the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing, and it is a very important piece of our history. This is a common topic that is going around nowadays because people are in awe about the history that many Black Americans have known for many years since that incident anyways. But it's become a hot topic. Now, I'm not here to talk about necessarily the massacre itself or any of the things that transpired during the destruction of Tulsa. I want to talk about the time before Tulsa. I want to talk about what men were and how men were respected. Because if you look into the history of African American men, Black men, ADOS men in this country, this is probably one of the only times that we have had a remarkable impact on our environment in the way that we saw fit and how we seen fit. Now, once again, men have been diminished down to nothing but sex and selective protection, like I've said. But at that point in time, we were respected. Why? Because the government backed us, because they had to. We were an integral part of the Civil War that was going on at the time, or right before Tulsa upbringing and it springing up. This is how we got to where we were, because we were not fought against by our own government and not fought against by our own women. And the women at the time, they could not join the military. So they didn't have a structural importance in regards to what the Civil War represented at the time. And coming out of the Civil War, we were not given the things that we were promised, in so many words. But we were given an opportunity to start things in the way that we saw fit. This is before Jim Crow, of course. But we competed very well. We grew our own crops. We had our own hospitals. We had our own banks. We had a thriving culture. Even the Black women of today realize that this point in time was one of our greatest, if not our greatest moment in America as a collective, as ADOS people. But one thing these women discount about this time is what caused it to be, is what was put in perspective properly. And that was the man's leadership. It was a very much patriarchal society, Tulsa. For you to try to discredit this, you'll be a fool. If you were to pay attention to the history, you would be dishonest in saying anything otherwise. Why the women today, don't want us to build another Tulsa, Oklahoma? It's because they want to be queens of the dunghill. They would rather be a rich man's lapdog than a Black man's wife, remember? Now, there are going to be people who have pushback and say, oh, well, I want to be married and I love Black men and this and that. And just as my submissive put it, she said, if you support Black Lives Matter, why are you supporting child support? Why are you supporting the denigration of your men? Why are you supporting putting your men in jail? Why are you supporting the white supremacy structure? Now, she's very new to this manosphere, to the red pill. For her to come to that conclusion so quickly, I can't give excuses for any of the other women. She understands that a patriarch is very necessary, and it is what God has intended. God intended for man to be in charge, especially the black man. Because when we are in charge, we outpace anybody else. This is what Tulsa represented. We outpace people who are doing the exact same things that we are doing because we do it better. It's not to say that we are superior in any way otherwise than DNA. We are superior in DNA because we have less recessive genes and genes that result in mutations, negative mutations, that is. But nonetheless, that's not what I'm here to talk about. From man to man, the way that we get things done, we outpace a lot of people. We outpace our women. This is why they don't want your boys to become what they're supposed to be. This is why the environment is consistently fixated on what boys are. Notice, you have to understand how women in the society operates. It is a moral signaling type of narrative that goes on, but behind the closed doors, they wax. They create narratives that support their narratives, if you understand what I mean. They do things that on the surface may seem like they are signaling to the betterment of whatever they're signaling to, but in secret, they have a hidden agenda. And usually, especially when it comes to black men or the black culture, for instance, there's a hidden agenda to it. We see the black girl magic. We see the propping up of the black woman. This is very intentional. This is nothing that is by mistake. And the denigration of the black boys. See, if you take women and you say, hey, look at what we're doing with our women. Look at how we're propping them up. Look at how we're supporting them. Then that takes the fixation off of the abuse of the boys, the lack of the boys, the put down of the boys. You get what I'm saying? The reason, once again, that they want to do this is because they understand the black man's power just as much as the rest of the world does. They understand that we have something that they do not. And if it were ever to be released, then they have no competition for us. Every culture on this planet understands that. I had a talk with my son maybe about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I asked him, I said, hey, let me explain why I was talking to him. I talk to my son often, but this specific topic was geared towards him being a young black man. And he is afflicted by his mother's over-emotional spirit. And it's my job to make sure that he does not succumb to this, because rationality should precede emotions, especially when you're a black man. But nonetheless, I talked to him about who he was. I told him, I said, hey, do you know who you are? And he said, yeah, I'm me, his name. And I said, no. Do you know who you are compared to the environment? Now, he's only 11 years old, but nonetheless, he's a very intelligent boy. And he says, I think I do. I say, well, let me clarify it for you a little bit better. You're black. I said to him, have you ever experienced or heard of Swedish culture? And he said, no, I don't know anything about it. I said, have you ever heard of Croatian culture? He said, no, I don't know anything about it. I said, how about any places in Africa, like Nigeria? Have you ever experienced their culture or know what their culture is all about? He said, no. And I said, why do you think that is? He said, well, because I never really experienced these places and I haven't been there before. And I said, okay, I can get with that. I said, but when it comes to you, do you know that there are people across this globe who know who you are, know what you do, know what your life is like, or some semblance of it, at least? And he said, no, I didn't think about that. And I said, yeah, you know, there are cultures who imitate behind the things that you do, where you come from, the things that you produce. They're seen worldwide and they're imitated. Many people across this globe know who you are. I was like, they may not know your name, but they know a black man when they see one. Right? And this was to illustrate to him that he is specific. He is something that the rest of the world is not. Once again, this isn't me saying that black men are any better than anyone else, but we have a gift and a talent the rest of the world does not have. We have a birthright the rest of the world does not have. And for this reason, the world is paying attention to you. They are looking at everything that you're doing. They're watching your every movement so that they can critique it and make sure that you don't gain the power and the knowledge that you are righted at birth to become what you are supposed to be. Because they know if you ever do, that is the end for them. So I told them, be aware of how you carry yourself. Never show your hand. Keep your emotions tucked because they want to see them. Your emotions are the key to who you truly are at its core when it comes to its chaos. And if they can exploit that, they will, because they know if they can bring the chaos out of you, the rationality is far, far, far behind. This is one thing that they definitely understand. This is the reason why they have no issues with a effeminate man. This is why they have no issues with a man who is in touch with his feelings. Because they know that the closer you are, no matter boy or man, you are to your emotions and you use them first, the further you are from your birthright, the further you are from gaining the control that was always yours, the further you are from understanding that this environment is exactly what it is and not what you believe it to be. So I told my son, make sure that you realize that they're watching you. Give them a show if you want to sometimes, but make sure that this show is one that misdirects them to not understanding exactly who you are. And the reason why I told them that is because if they understand who you are, they'll exploit it because they know exactly who you are. But if they know who you are as an individual, they'll definitely exploit it. This is the reason how they're exploiting it now, because they know who we are. This is the reason why they're exploiting it. They know exactly who we are. We're known worldwide. You think that's an accident? I mean, sure, we have Hollywood and etc. like that, but we don't get as much screen time as everyone else. We don't have as many TV shows as anyone else. This is for a reason. Because they want to show just enough of our dysfunction so that the world doesn't get alarmed and say, oh, they're picking up, they're gaining steam. Because once we stand, the rest of the world who comes from us stands. And that's what they don't want. Because once we attain the position that we're supposed to have, then they really will tremble in fear. They're afraid of us even without guns. Imagine if they understood or they seen what we would be like with knowledge across the board. You think a gun is powerful? They definitely don't want to see you get your mind together. But we in this space understand this. But there are some of us who need a re-education about who they are and what their position is in this world. They're watching you, just like they're watching my son, just like they're watching your sons. They want to make sure that you don't get a leg in the game, that you start to get some common sense, that you start to unify. Look at the history that they have with us. Anytime that we stand up in our position that we're supposed to be, Tulsa, they want to destroy it. I always say, what's the best way not to grow a tree? You don't plant the seed in the first place. This is the reason why that any opportunity that we have in this country and anywhere that we go, where they see a sprout start to stand up, they stomp it out immediately, because they understand that if that tree were to grow into the tree that it was supposed to be, they'd never be able to cut it down. But anyways, like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook, same name. Until next time, may you have a good day, and peace be with you.